What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very well. I wanted to touch on Preservation Evoker heading into Season 3, and it's something that I've been keeping my eye on a lot recently, and especially with some of the crazy changes that have actually come through in the last couple of sets of patch notes. They have been buffed, I would say, pretty substantially, and people aren't, I don't think, really noticing it. I didn't really notice it either. I think in general, Pres Evoker seems to be sort of flying under the radar and not catching the attention of certainly any nerfs or any bad news from Blizzard. They're just here, they exist, and a lot of people, I think, have a bad misconception about Preservation Evoker in Mythic Plus, and I want to try and dispel some of that today. And I'm going to show you a bunch of footage from my dungeon testing that I've been doing on the PTR, and just how comfortable Pres Evoker actually feels, because it feels pretty darn good. Let me just tell you right now, it feels pretty darn good. Let me just start really quickly with the patch notes and some stuff that have come in. The biggest change that's happened recently is actually that the tier set bonus has gained an additional effect it didn't have before. So Tip the Scales is a 1-minute cooldown, which is amazing. You're not going to play, you're only going to play Chrono Flame, Chrono Warden basically in keys. You're not going to play Flame Shaper. It's just not really realistic. So you get a 1-minute Tip the Scales, which by itself is absolutely insane. And you're going to see it in the footage that I'm showing you here. On top of that, Temporal Burst, which is the buff you get after you press Tip the Scales, it lasts for 30 seconds. It has an additional effect now. It's going to increase your essence ability, damage, and healing by 30%. What does that mean? Again, that's this buff right here. So when you press Tip the Scales, you get Temporal Burst for 30 seconds. It slowly decreases in value over time, okay? But then after those 30 seconds are up, you basically have 30 seconds left until Tip the Scales comes back again, and you're going to press it again because it's a 1-minute cooldown. So the uptime on Temporal Burst, first of all, is absolutely outrageous. It means you're going to have like 40 to 50% uptime on this buff, assuming you're pressing Tip the Scales on cooldown, which you're probably going to be because it's just such a strong ability. So you get increased haste, cooldown reduction, movement speed, and then now on top of it, when this Temporal Burst buff is up, you also get 30% increased essence damage and healing, which is basically only Echo and Disintegrate. But that's your damaging ability, that's an essence user, and then Echo is your healing ability that uses essence. You also have Emerald Blossom, but let's be real, you don't really ever press this button, especially if you're playing Chrono Warden. You would in like a raid scenario with Flame Shaper, it has more value, but as a Chrono Warden, you're just really never going to press this, which is maybe a little bit unfortunate, but the reality is getting Echo healing is actually is really nice, and Disintegrate damage is really nice too for when you want to do more damage. So that nice little buff that they added to the end of it, it's not the craziest thing in the world, but I think it really flew under the radar, and it's going to be pretty substantial when it comes to the extra healing and extra damage that you're doing. Now, the biggest part about Pres Evoker in Mythic Plus, in my opinion, is that you really just need the 2-piece to get this thing off the ground. Like, getting a 1-minute Tip the Scales really makes this build just possible, and it just makes everything crazy because you get the Temporal Burst uptime, you're getting just tons of extra healing out of it, you're getting all kinds of Chrono Flames as well. So the build as it is right now, I think, is really awesome. And one of the biggest changes that they have made in the patch notes to the core abilities of Pres Evoker is Temporal Anomaly. And I'm going to show you how much healing this is doing now on its own. Remember, Temporal Anomaly is basically just a delivery device to put echoes on your entire team. That's really just what it's for. And the actual healing of Temporal Anomaly has not been a substantial thing, but now it is. Going into Season 3, instead of Temporal Anomaly doing like 4% of your overall healing, it's getting closer to 11% of my overall healing here. And it's applying those echoes that I was talking about earlier. So like, this is completely crazy in my opinion. And not only is it just doing more healing, which is great, it's shield healing, which if we know anything about Mythic Plus, Disc Priest shield healing is really the king of the crop, right? The king of everybody. So having big shields that you can put on people is going to be a massive deal for pushing into higher end Mythic Plus, and I think really increases the value of Preservation Evoker once again moving into Season 3. So this is something that I think people really need to keep their eye on, especially just this one Temporal Anomaly buff itself. If you couple it with like another trinket, like let's say the Mana Sprite trinket, to get additional shields, you suddenly start having builds that are providing a ton of like maximum HP to your group. temporary max HP in the form of a shield, which is really what can push groups above and beyond into the higher echelons of Mythic Plus. On top of that, of course, the healing is just disgusting from Preservation Evoker. The healing here is absolutely crazy. We have a Living Flames hitting for 11 million. You've got Golden Hour, which is just pressing reversion on somebody, and then you get this extra proc of healing instantly. It's like there's 7 million right there. Life Giver's Flame is my fire breath. I send out my fire breath. It does a crazy amount of damage, and I heal like a ton of people. There's a 10 mil heal right here from me doing damage. No other healer can do that. I'm telling you right now. There's no other healer that can press a massive DPS ability and do crazy amounts of damage and then instantly convert that into enormous amounts of healing right away. Like, it's just not on this scale. Obviously, that's a lot of what Disc Priest ends up doing. They turn damage into healing. I understand that, but this is just sort of something that's different in my opinion. Yeah, I'm just very impressed with the healing profile and especially the responsiveness of Preservation Evoker to the incoming damage. I mean, you've seen here that you can see here that there's just tons of damage that comes in to our team, and I can just instantly pop some cooldowns and get that damage recovered on the HP bar. It has some of the absolute best responsive healing in the game, right up there with like Holy Paladin and let's say Resto Shaman. I mean, it's just like very, very strong snap recovery in the form of things like stasis, and now of course the 1 minute tip the scales, which I think really brings the whole build together, and just having that instant tip the scales into a Spirit Bloom and just instantly heals everybody. You get the Spirit Bloom dot on top of that, and then you're into your like crazy basically Bloodlust window in the form of Temporal Burst. It just gets the ball rolling, and it feels so incredibly strong. On top of that, they have really good tools like time dilation, and there's so many moments in some of the keys that I've shown you here where I'm like time dilating the DH tank or whoever else just to buy them enough time to be able to survive so that we can both get to the next part of the fight. He can get his defensives back, whatever the case might be. This thing, again, being on a 1 minute cooldown is super strong. I don't even have any buffs to it, and I probably should take one of these. Like, just in time actually seems completely insane. Having 2 charges of it. I know I'm troll for not taking that. I will. I'm going to modify my talent tree here, but just having this on top of having all the extra healing is super insane. And then also moving into season 3, having Cauterizing Flame is going to be amazing as well to remove, you know, all the other, you know, curses and diseases, but mostly it's the bleed I'm looking at here. There are multiple bleeds in this season that are going to be coming out. Particularly like Arakara has these little mites that like bite on you, and they're going to end up putting a bleed on your allies, and you can just immediately get rid of that. Priory has the bleed with the spears that are being thrown at people. I think there's other bleeds too. The Halls of Atonement has a crazy bleed on the tank. We've all seen it in the footage of people in the PTR right now trying to test it, and just tanks just getting destroyed because they have like 10 stacks of the bleed. So this thing removes all stacks of a bleed instantly, and again, it's on a 1 minute cooldown. So the value of this in season 3, I think, is going to be through the roof. Very, very strong. All in all, I think Preservation Evoker is sitting in a fantastic spot for Mythic Plus moving into season 3, just with all the cooldowns they have, the snap responsiveness. They have a little bit of CC. It's kind of on the light side, but they have a little bit of CC. But it's mostly their throughput. Their damage throughput and their healing throughput are off the charts. They have really good externals. They have extra shielding now in the form of Temporal Anomaly. Some of the cooldowns they have, like Rewind and Stasis, are just absolutely incredibly strong to play with. So I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's very strong. And I think people are really sleeping on Preservation Evoker, and I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you guys thinking of playing Prez? I am seriously thinking of taking this as like my main alt that I'm going to be playing. I'm going to have at least one alt character. Besides me playing, you know, Paladin and Survival Hunter. I'm going to be maybe playing this as my ult because it's so strong, but I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think down there. Thank you so much again for watching. I love y'all. I'll see you in the next one.